Hi, everybody. I wanted to take a couple of minutes to walk you through developing an MVA, our minimum viable actions, as a part of this week's work that we did in session, as well as the homework that's going to hopefully help you develop your logic models. And so, a quick reminder, right? Like, what is a minimum viable action? It comes from essentially the world of minimum viable products, and it is the shortest, simplest version of, let's say, the target or the ideal action that you have to take. And in our case, the MVA is designed to help you see what actions you can take that are relevant for your organization, that are going to help you meet a specific outcome. MVAs should be things that will help you test your assumptions, right? So let's say you want to make a really large investment in data tools or tracking tools or learning and development. Instead of trying to get right $500,000 to do any of these things within your context, an MVA is also a way for you to test to see if there is appetite, where there are opportunities for quick wins and successes. And so this should be an exercise that can help you see what's the lowest cost, highest speed, heavily focused on learning way to work towards your outcome. So there are a couple of steps in developing an MVA, and I want you to follow along with me so that we can talk through them together with a real example. Okay, so we are going to start with picking an outcome. During our session yesterday, we looked at one of the resources that can help you select an outcome, and that is the Design as Protest Index. You can use the DAP index or another resource. Our only suggestion is that you have a really well-defined outcome. So the outcome that I'm going to use in this example is from the DAP index, and it says, remove racist and discriminatory financial policies that determine pay and benefits. Once you have an outcome, the next thing that you're going to want to do is brainstorm a list of activities that are going to help you achieve this outcome. You can be really specific here, or you can have kind of a broad activity that might have multiple steps underneath it. Let me show you an example of the brainstorm that I did. So remember, the outcome is removing discriminatory financial policies that determine pay and benefits. And so some of the things that I brainstormed are meeting with the chief human resources officer to discuss equitable financial policies, specifically around pay, researching progressive compensation models, perhaps recommending that the board has a committee on fair financial practices and policies, as well as items that are going to require multiple steps, such as conducting an audit of financial policies related to pay and benefits, or even hiring an expert to conduct unbiased reviews. There are some items that I put on my brainstorm that I thought, well, I could possibly implement them, maybe not in the next week, but in a fairly short period of time. So that included things like including pay equity related items on an employee engagement or a pulse survey, or working with a CHRO to establish guidelines for managers around ensuring fair pay and benefit allocations. There's some items on my brainstorm that are a little bit of a stretch. So they include things like making salary ranges transparent for all positions and making that available to every employee, or creating a whistleblower system so that folks feel comfortable reporting racist or discriminatory financial practices. Once you've done your brainstorm, then the next thing that you're going to want to do is add that to your 2x2 document. I'm going to use a 2x2 that's very similar to the one that is in our workbook. And on one axis, I have positive impact for employees, I want to be really clear that the outcome is related to creating positive benefits specifically for employees. And so I have low positive benefit for employees and high positive benefit for employees. And then on the other axis, I have cost. And I went ahead and mapped on my 2x2 items from my brainstorm. And you can see that some of the things that I put in the cost a lot of money, not super beneficial, are like mandatory anti-racism trainings for managers and HR decision makers. And on the other side, you can see I put things like training for implementing the non-discriminatory pay scales, right? Potentially costs a lot, but might return a lot of value for employees, or hiring an expert to conduct a review of the company's policies, or getting leaders to communicate their commitment to financial fairness, which is an item that I said, well, costs not very much, but high impact for employees. Once you have done one round of this, or perhaps multiple rounds of this, you're ready to pick a minimum viable action or several minimum viable actions that are going to be relevant for your organization or the context that you're working in. As a bonus, one of the things that you can do is create something like a Gantt chart and start to organize your MVAs on a timeline. And what this can do for you is essentially give you a rough project plan. And so here you can see I've mapped different items, I've color coded them, and I've put them on a timeline. And my other axis is impact. The top right hand corner, I said what's the most impactful is communication from leadership, as well as having salary ranges be transparent for all employees. And I want to take a moment now and make the connection back to where we started in our second session with the logic model and theory of change frameworks. So I've taken some of these ideas and mapped them on a kind of a logic model template, and you can see, what are the inputs and resource allocations, right? So actual dollars for hiring experts, for buying or building tools, doing learning and development, and potentially additional funds if there is a big gap in pay or benefits. Time with senior leaders and the time and commitment of the Chief Human Resources Officer, as well as some internal data analytics expertise. The activities are all of the things that we already brainstormed to arrive at an MVA. And I also added some metrics so you can start to see how we start to evaluate whether we're on the path to meeting our outcome. Depending on your context, you're going to want to get really specific about data collection tools, cadence, which is how often, as well as reporting. When are you going to share and with whom? Determining inputs and resource allocation based on activities, gathering some information, seeing what's working, and continuing to revise our inputs and activities until we get closer to meeting our outcome.